This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Where do they have your ass now? You're in Vegas?
I'm in New York, actually. I just hosted Good Morning Football this morning. It's actually re-airing right now. So I'm up here the next few days hosting Good Morning Football. So I just got back. We end at 10. So just hopped in the hotel and chatting with you. So that's been my morning.
Where you leaning to in the Super Bowl?
The 49ers are the better team to me, talent-wise. It almost feels like they are due, but I cannot pick against Patrick Mahomes. I think that, and it almost gets to the point where I feel like everybody's shifted to the Patrick Mahomes Chief bandwagon, and I don't like to be on the side where everyone is. But at the same time, I don't like to be on the side against Patrick Mahomes.
That was me 2 weeks ago.
Right.
I was laughing at everybody picking Baltimore.
Yep.
Everybody picking Baltimore. And also, you want to give me 3.5 points. I'll take it. You want to give me now 4. I'll take it. You want to give me 4.5? Let's go, baby. Let's go. You're giving the best player in the world points. Let's go. Let's go. Right. And I am not betting against Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm not betting against Chris Jones, who's the Pat Mahomes of defense. Okay?
Right.
Because there's nobody, not even Boza, nobody wrecks a game like Chris Jones. Well, the guy for the Rams. I'm sorry. I left him out. That's wrong on my part. First him, then Jones. Okay.
Right.
Donovan, then Jones. But there is nobody on the field. Boza does not affect the game. He is great, but he doesn't affect the game like Chris Jones has. That guy's a game wrecker. So I'm going with Andy Reid. I'm going with Chris Jones, and I'm going with Pat Mahomes. And by the way, I think a motivated Kelsey, because as I've been telling Matt Verderam, who's our insider on Wednesdays and a big KC insider, he thinks, he's coming more to my side now. He's starting because he was at first with the whole, he's got 2 years left. This guy's in love. Mm-hmm. This guy is going to play like a madman on Sunday because he wants to do the John Elway thing, and he wants to walk out into the sunset with that championship. You know what I mean? I think that's what's going to happen. I really do.
I think so. So the underrated storyline, I guess, in this game for me is I think rightfully so, everybody's talking about Patrick Mahomes. And then the other side is Brock Purdy's incredible run coming back from what he is, right? I think there is not enough talk about how dominant this Chiefs defense is. I think that to me is one of the more underrated elements. I think publicly people would tell you, just based off looking at the teams on paper, they thought the 49ers had a better defense because of Nick Boza, because of Fred Warner, because of all the pieces that we know name-wise, Javon Hargrave. The Chiefs don't have as much name value beyond Chris Jones on that defense for a household audience. But I'll tell you what, ask the Dolphins about their defense. Ask the Ravens.
Ask the Dolphins about their secondary. That's what's elite.
Right. Ask them about their secondary. Ask the Ravens about their secondary. Ask the Steelers, or who else did they play the first week? Whoever they played the first week. Ask them about their the Dolphins. The Dolphins, and ask the Dolphins. Ask the Bills.
Ragdoll Tyreek Hill, dude. They ragdoll.
Yes, absolutely.
Duffy and Bird, they are the best secondary in the playoffs.
Right.
Period.
Yes.
Not the Super Bowl, the playoffs. They were the best secondary, and that's why that defense is so special, because Chris Jones and the boys up front, they've been doing their job. But they let me tell you something. Kansas City got their asses kicked a couple of years ago when Mahomes was all over on the floor, right? And they said, we got to fix the offensive line. Next year, they fixed the offensive line. They struggled with their secondary a couple of years ago. They said, no, we got to fix this secondary. And 2 years ago, they had one of the better drafts in the NFL in years to find a couple of secondary guys, and they turned their secondary around like that, dude. And watch, this coming off season, they're going to go find Mahomes a couple of extra weapons too. They attack a problem like nobody's business, dude. Props to the Chiefs. That's why they went back and fixed their line and won the Super Bowl. Now they fixed their secondary and they're going to win a Super Bowl. That's just kind of the way it is, man. The second is what's made them special.
I'm with you. L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, two of the best pair of corners in the league. And what I love about both of those guys is their physicality. A lot of times these days, corners aren't physical anymore. They don't want to tackle. They want to get picks. And I don't blame them because interceptions make you money. I give me a pair of corners that not only play great coverage, but will stick their nose in there to stop a screen, that will pop a running back coming around the edge too lackadaisical, that will press a receiver on the line of scrimmage to get their timing off on the route. I think that pair of corners, I can't wait. Like the matchup, everybody, I'm excited to see. Everybody's going to talk about, maybe Patrick Mahomes this or Brock Purdy that. I can't wait to see how L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie go against the quote-unquote physical receivers of the 49ers, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Who's the tougher pairing? Because Deebo's got his nickname for a reason. We know he only plays one level, physicality. And Brandon Ayuk has been one of the best receivers in football this year. Incredible recovery from him, kind of from the Kyle Shanahan doghouse to nearly 1,500 yards. He's physical in the pass game and run game too. Which bunch can be more physical, the Chiefs corners or the 49ers receivers? To me, that's going to have a huge impact on this game. And the last thing I'll say here about the Chiefs defense, Steve Spagnuolo, it was an incredible hire for them, and he's probably having his best year as a coordinator. He does a great job of scheming up what they're going to do on a given basis, disguising coverages to the perfect timing. And every single game I see the Chiefs defense, I can't remember them ever being unprepared or not ready. That's coaching. That's coaching. And so to me, that Chiefs defense is going to end up being a key story in this game.
I agree. This is why for years I've always had this discussion with people. They say, "Oh, Deion's the best ever," and I'm like, "Okay, that's fine if you want to, but I'll take Rod Woodson every day of the week and twice on Sundays over Deion Sanders." And it's because of what you just said there. Rod Woodson was going to cover you. Okay, just as good pretty much as Deion, or if you want to say Deion's a hair better, that's fine. But Rod Woodson's going to knock your dick in your sock too at the same time. So that's the difference there. And that's where give me Rod Woodson, give me Ronnie Lott. Okay, I know Deion Sanders is great, but you can have him. Give me the corner that is physical and can cover. That's the dog I want. And they found two of them, dude. And that's some impressive stuff. All right, let's get to the Dolphins.
Speaking of Rod Woodson, we had Rod Woodson interview on our show for Good Morning Football this morning. He's looking great. And,
he's a monster and a half. He's so good he switched over to safety.
Yep.
It's just
incredible play.
I can't say enough about Rod Woodson, how good that guy is as a player, how great that guy was as a player. It's
hard to call a Hall of Famer underrated, but he is an underrated Hall of Famer. Like, I don't think he's mentioned enough among the top DBs ever, and he deserves to be in that conversation.
Oh my God, yes, please. I watched the man. Both him and Carnell Lake, bro. Carnell Lake was a hell of a player.
Yep.
And also and then switched over to safety also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, the skill set that those guys had, but Rod Woodson was special and a half, dude. I mean, that's as good as it gets. All right, let's get into your thoughts on the Anthony Weaver hire overall.
I like the hire. I have covered a number of Ravens games this year. I got a chance to talk to Weaver a few times in pregame. I'll tell you what, Dolphins fans are going to really like his energy. The energy he brings, I don't want to say opposites because, Vic had a lot of positives too, but I think it's opposite style in that Weaver's going to be a high energy, get in the mix during practice guy. Like one thing about Vic was very hands off during practice. He let the guys do his thing and then he'd correct later in film room. Weaver's going to get there on the pads with you. He's going to get on the sled and say, hey, this is how you do it. If you're not doing it right, get off the sled type guy. He's that type of coach. And I think that you're going to see him relate to players better, which I think is going to be important. What I am curious to see is what scheme he runs of his own. Do they assimilate a lot to the Vic Fangio scheme they've run previously, or does he create an iteration of his own? Because, obviously there's the Ravens scheme that they ran under Mike McDonald, and his kind of element of there that they've run with, a few different coordinators, whether it be Markendale, and then Weaver had his own defense, Texans, that didn't go great. The personnel wasn't great. And so my big question for him is, what does it look like schematically wise? Because as far as like personality and how he relates to the players, I don't think that will be an issue at all. I think he's going to get the most out of these guys, and I think they're going to respond well to him.
I like the hire. To me, but again, I don't think that defense has been an issue for the first 2 years under McDaniel. I think Josh Boyer was fine. I think Vic Fangio did his job. I'm more worried about the offense and the play caller and the unorganization and the lack of discipline. I'm more worried about the head coach, overall. Now, what did you think of Joe Barry? Because I thought that was very interesting, very smart. Weaver has never been a defensive coordinator. Joe Barry's been a defensive coordinator for several years now. The last 3 were Green Bay. I thought bringing in him as a linebackers coach and a sounding board for Weaver, I find it to be freaking genius, by the way.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan of sort of younger coaches bringing in former vets who've done their job before as a guideline for them. Like lean on somebody when you have questions, because inevitably you're going to have a question of what happens when this. I've got a player who's doing this. How do you adjust that? He can lean on Joe Barry in that respect. I know a lot of people are going to trip about Joe Barry's success or lack of success in Green Bay. He didn't have a great run as defense coordinator there, but he did have a great run as a linebacker coach. And he can also share.
How did our offensive line coach do, who sucked at the University of Miami and also got ripped profusely in Denver on the way out? Okay.
Yep.
I mean,
every situation is different.
Okay. So, we can't go by that, bro.
Right.
We just can't go by that.
Yeah. Every situation is different. I think that, because of Joe Barry's connections to a lot of the places that Mike's been, there will be a little bit more of a seamless relationship in that respect. Like he's coached under Sean McVay. He's coached under Matt LaFleur, like 2 of Mike's best friends and coaching mentors. And so I think that a lot of times last year, what people didn't see behind the scenes was there was maybe a lack of connection between all of the coaches. There's different, you're merging different styles of coaches, which is fine in essence, but only if they work and collaborate together. And I don't know if they fully had that this year. I think you'll have more of that this year. Now they got to make it work. And I'll tell you this, like I'll warn Dolphins fans, I said this before, I think this is going to be a tough offseason. I think that, they can come back in April when they're back on the field, and it may look worse roster-wise because of some of their salary cap decisions. So they will lean more on the coaching staffs to get out of the young players and develop young players, which is why I think they made some of the hires they did. Development will be key more than just scheme and those type of things. And so how do you get Cam Smith to look like a starting level corner? How do you get, is there any hope for Channing Tindall? Can he play a role in this defense? Can a coach get that out of him? These are things that are going to be key parts of this new coaching staff's regime, because you're not going to have the money to be able to spend on big splashy free agents this offseason. And so I'm eager to learn that element, but I'm also not going to overreact and have a huge take of, Anthony Weaver is going to take this team to a top 5 defense. We don't know yet. And it's fine to say that we don't know, and we're kind of eager to see.
Yeah, I'm not nearly as worried. They've got a lot of places that they can pick up a lot of cash and get flexibility. I think it gets uglier for them. Next year gets harder, and then 2 years from now is going to be near impossible. 2 years from now is the hell that the Ravens and the Bills are now going to be in as their quarterbacks' real contracts kick in. That's when it comes to real limitations. I think they'll be crafty enough. And what I like about this trifecta is they can find talent. So I'm just not worried that much about that. The front office does an excellent job of finding talent. And you know what? Cam, I got, the Dolphin Nation, because media doesn't give a shit in general, but the Dolphin Nation has got to get over the whole Vic thing. Dude, the old man was at a part in his life, a moment in his life where it's about him now. And he's done a lot and he's traveled a lot. And he's been everywhere. And the guy didn't really want to be here. And a job opened up that was closer to his family. And he's kind of at the end of his run. And this place wasn't necessarily a perfect fit for him. The money was, and I think he had somebody on the west coast of Florida, right? I think his mom, right, or something.
North, yeah.
Right? So he had somebody here, and that's
if I remember right.
The main part of his family and where he's at in his life and all that. Everyone's going to get there, dude. Everyone is going to get there, dude, at one point or another. You know what I mean? A lot of people tell me all the time, oh, I miss you on radio. Well, I have no interest to be on radio.
Right.
None whatsoever. I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to answer to people anymore. And especially to people that most of the time I used to answer to people that have never done my job, have never broken a story, have never built up a relationship with teams or players or businesses, have never even run a show, have never built an audience, have never even connected with sponsors. The things that I have to do in order to survive, most of the people that have been my bosses, they've never done that. Yep. That's what I deal with. And by the way, that's the kind of shit you deal with, I'm sure, throughout your career. You got people telling you what to do when they like, wait a minute, dude, when did you break a fucking story?
Right.
When you've done what I've done, right? I'm sure I'm not telling you to say it publicly, but in your mind, you have faced a boss that you're like, this guy doesn't know what I do for a living, bro. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so it's just, that's where Vic is. And I think we all got to understand that and just kind of let it go, dude. Right. He is, he's set in his ways. Move on from that. All right. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is this offseason. Why are you so concerned when you can create a lot of space with X in June, with Agba gone, with Tua getting a new contract and cutting down that money, with Christian Wilkins is gone? That's a lot of money that's going to be cleared off the book. Cedric Wilson will not return, so there's another $6 million that opens up for next year. So you start to look at all the money that's going to be available. Why are you so worried about flexibility? Because I don't think that's a concern at all this year.
I'm not worried about flexibility as far as the elements you're talking about. I'm talking about how do they improve this roster with the lack of cap space they will have. The guys you mentioned, although maybe they're cut for a reason, are still key contributors. You lose a Christian Wilkins, that's a huge cog of your defense. And so you're saying, oh, it opens up space. Well, you're going to have to replace him. What are you going to replace a Christian Wilkins with? You talk about Xavier Howard. Right. We talked about this. If he doesn't take a notable pay cut, he's probably gone, which I don't think he's going to do. You still got to replace him Xavier Howard. I know some people say, he's getting older. He wasn't the same guy. He's still a starting level corner, and you don't have another one of those on your roster. You trusting Cam Smith, who you hadn't seen play all season yet?
I don't know what to trust.
That's a bold thing for a team ready to win, to trust a second-round corner who hadn't played a significant snap on defense all his rookie year. And so, what are we doing here? You talk about, Emmanuel Ogbah being gone, and yes, he wasn't used well in Vic Fangio's scheme, but you got two edge rushers and Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb coming off serious injuries. Who knows when they're back themselves again? And so these are huge questions that I just don't think you have the money to be able to answer. Now you're going to have to hope you draft and develop, that you maybe find some lower end free agency fits to make it work. But that's a lot of hope and wishing. And to me, that's just to get back to the level that you were this year. Not to get better. That's just to get back to that level. And so to me, that's what the concern is. Most of it on the defensive side of the ball. As far as like you talked about, you like the defense. Well, you got to figure out how to keep that talent or improve that talent to get back to that level. So to me, that's why I'm concerned. And then also remember this: these guys got to get paid. right? You're going to have to pay a Robert Hunt, right? Like a lot of your money's going to go to keeping some of your own guys. Your Robert Hunt, your Tua Tagovailoa. Soon Jalen Waddle's going to be up. Soon Javon Holland is going to be up, right? And so a lot of these core pieces, you're looking, Jalen Phillips at some point. So you're going to have to take care of these guys while still figuring out how to improve your roster. I think that this team is definitely going to be in a period where they're having a little bit of uncertainty, trusting guys who we haven't seen do it, which is what my concern is.
Yeah, although the Jalen Phillips of the world will not be getting paid for a while.
Jalen Phillips is what, 2020?
Yes, he's got one more year and a tag, right?
He's going to get a decision on his 5th-year option.
This is
probably, yeah.
And he'll be tagged probably for next year, some kind of a tag.
The number's still going up. This number's still going up because the tag number is $20 million for edge rushers. That's like straight on the books.
It may not be a franchise tag.
Right, but I'm saying like your 5th-year option number, your these are like straight 15 million to 20 million straight direct on your cap. These aren't the extensions where you're seeing, hey, 2-3 million a year one, then it goes up. A lot of times when you're tagging these guys or paying them on their 5th-year option, that number is just a straight 1-year big block. And so
I know, they're screwed. They can't give him a long-term contract.
Right, I hear you. That's what the balance is, right? That you got guys coming up on the bulk of their deal. Tyreek Hill, you're going to see a huge cap number coming up on him starting soon. Bradley Chubb, same thing. You're going to have the Teron Armstead. If he doesn't retire, you have a Teron Armstead decision because he's going to have a big cap number.
Yeah,
and he has a big cap number. You're going to say, okay, do we keep him? Which he's one of the best left tackles in football when he's healthy.
Well, actually, the cap number. They actually need him to come back this year.
Absolutely.
It's not a good option.
Your cap regardless, right?
Even if Slam can play the entire season next year and play great at left tackle, it creates now that's a financial problem there. It's actually better for the Dolphins to have him on the books than be forced to get him off the books. That creates an even bigger problem for it. They have enough shit to deal with this offseason. They really don't need the Armstead. Believe it or not, folks out there, they really don't need an Armstead retirement right now. They need an Armstead retirement another year or two, but not right now.
I hear you, man, for sure.
Yeah. So, all right, it's going to be interesting. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. Catch his work at the NFL Network, and you can catch him now at Good Morning Football. You'll be on the rest of the week?
Yep, next 2 days I'll be on. So rest of the week, from 7 to 10 a.m. here from New York, and we'll have a re-air. Like there's a re-air airing right now. So if you're not an early riser, you can see it again from 10 to 1 that we tape it after. So yep.
Got it. Good stuff as always, Cam. Appreciate you, my brother. Hang in there in cold ass New York, my friend.
We'll do. We'll
talk later on in the week on Friday. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Got it. There you go. Cameron Wolfe, baby. And reach out to our friends at KSDT CPAs. They know how to get it done. We were actually going to be there this morning broadcasting from there, but we had a little change of plans. And coming off an operation, that was actually a good move for me that I didn't have to be there. But listen, when it comes to personal taxes, business taxes, especially for business taxes, you need that guidance all year long. They are a top 200 firm by Forbes, top 200 tax firm by Forbes. So reach out to the great people at KSDT CPAs, 305-670-3370. And they've got offices in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. They're hiring, and they opened up an office now in Charlotte, North Carolina. They continue to expand. In fact, they're already working on another expansion in another city, and they're hiring there too in Charlotte, North Carolina. So use that number right there, 305-670-3370 if you're looking for work. And if you need somebody to do your personal taxes or business taxes, you can use that QR code, or if you're listening to the podcast, 305-670-3370. Hour number 2 is next. Matt Verderam, baby, kicks it off.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.